Voting is underway across the United States as people go to the polls to choose their 60th president. It comes at the end of one of the most tumultuous campaigns in recent history, with both candidates saying this is the most important presidential campaign and election in a century. With the first of our reports this evening, here's our Washington correspondent, Whelan.
The sun rose in Washington as it always does. But this election day feels different, the choice being made by American voters more consequential. The electorate are certainly keen to have their voices heard. In plenty of locations, voters were lining up before the polling stations opened, some in the dark and cold. Some were quiet about their preferences, some advertised them.
I'm definitely for, Donald Trump, obviously. It's important for him to get back in office, for me. To secure our borders, to help our economy to get back to where we were.
With lots to vote on, Congress, state assemblies, governors and referendums, it can take time to vote and count the votes later, even with machine counting. Others have already cast their votes days, weeks earlier. 83 million early voters as of 8 a.m. this morning, around 40% of the electorate. The candidates have presented the voters with as clear-cut a choice as can be imagined. A man, a woman, red, blue, hope, fear. The messages on display at their final rallies last night.
It is time for a new generation of leadership in America. And I am ready to offer that leadership as the next President of the United States of America.
So we lose 300,000 people a year to drugs entering from Mexico. And if they don't stop this poison from flooding into our country, and they can stop it by not accepting it from China, and I'm doing the same thing with China, we're going to tariff the hell out of them.
A short time ago, Donald Trump went to vote in Palm Beach, Florida.
I hear we're doing very well there. In Georgia, I hear we're doing very well. I hear we're doing very well everywhere. Now, I may regret that statement, but I'm hearing that we're doing very well.
But there's nothing the candidates can do now. Their fate is in the hands of the American people, the ones casting the votes, the ones making the call on who becomes their 47th president.
Election officials across the states are trying to reassure voters about the safety and security of the poll and the validity of the results. And nowhere is that felt more keenly than in Georgia. Back in 2020, that state flipped to Joe Biden, and a result that Donald Trump has still not accepted.
The night before an election that has divided America. The city of Atlanta was quiet but tense. Many voters were reluctant to talk about politics.
Can you tell me who you voted for?
Yes, Donald Trump.
Tell me why.
No, I don't want to do this. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It's really shocking because you really don't know who's going to win. But just keep my fingers crossed. Hopefully Kamala wins. She'll be the first female president.
But even at this late hour, others couldn't decide.
I want to vote for Trump, but I don't really got no thought about it, but it's cool though.
But you're not sure still?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
When are you going to make up your mind?
By Tuesday. I think I'm going to go vote. You going to vote Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday.
As dawn broke, polling booths were already filling up.
Election officials are expecting a record turnout, but Georgia was ground zero for then President Donald Trump's attempt to overturn the last election. People here worry something similar could happen again.
From the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, this is Politically Georgia for Tuesday, November 5th. It's Election Day in Battleground, Georgia.
For long-time observers of American politics, this is a moment like no other.
We are such a deeply divided country right now. But what troubles me more is what happens in our neighborhoods. What happens to us as individuals and how we see the people who are on the other side of the political divide. That division, that mistrust is so deeply embedded in who we've become that I don't know how we're going to fix that.
If the outcome of this election is similar to the last time, one of them wins by a narrow margin, what do you anticipate could happen?
Chaos. Chaos.
Whatever happens today, Georgia is bracing itself for the result after a bitterly fought campaign. Yvonne Mariotti, News, Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, our Washington correspondent Sean Whelan joins me now. Sean, these candidates are poles apart, but the polls have them neck and neck. What's going to happen tonight?
I've no idea. I have absolutely no idea, Sharon. I'm covering a lot of elections. I said this last night to the other Sharon. I just can't call this one. I have no gut instinct. I have no sense of momentum in this election. You're right about the polls. They're putting them really close together, almost inseparable. People are digging out the dusty volumes to say what happens if there is a tie in the Electoral College. The answer is Congress gets to decide. But the new Congress, the one they're also voting on today, all kinds of things can happen out there. Some people believe all the swing states are going to swing in one direction, go for one candidate over the other. Personally, I don't believe that one. I think we're just going to have to wait for the votes to drop state by state. Some of them are going to be clear cut, some of them are going to be really tight, and I don't think we're going to get a clear result tonight. So the thing is going to drag on and on and on. The only place we have got any clarity from is the legendary hamlet of Dixville Notch up in New Hampshire. 6 electors get together at midnight, they voted and they've counted already, and it's, guess what, 3 votes each. It's 3 votes each, can't separate them there. Biden did win it clearly the last time, but Trump won there the time before. So who knows? It doesn't tell us anything. 83 million votes have already been cast, more being cast today. I think it's going to be a huge turnout, and that of course is going to add to the amount of time it takes to count, even with electronic voting machines.
All right, well, Sean Whelan, you will be up all night, and I'm sure we will be talking to you in the days and perhaps weeks ahead. Well, it has been a dramatic and volatile election, one of the most shocking in recent campaigns, as Jackie Fox has been finding out.
This year saw Democratic nightmares become reality.
The right thing for him to do is to step aside.
Either he has to win overwhelmingly or he has to pass the torch to someone who can.
How do you tell that person you can't do this anymore?
It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president.
An American fever dream with the shortest presidential campaign in U.S. history.
So, America, the path that led me here in recent weeks was no doubt unexpected.
And a former president, now convicted felon, the target of 2 assassination attempts.
There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet, in a certain way, I felt very safe because I had God on my side.
Here in the nation's capital, what do top political strategists make of it all?
I would say the most important moment in this election was the debate at the end of June that reformed the entire race. I mean, that was the most consequential presidential debate in our history.
If Harris loses this race, it will come down to the fact that Biden hung on too long.
Does that mean I'm better than Abraham Lincoln and George? What? Yes, sir, you're better than both of them. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats.
And what about the Republican Party?
You know, if Trump wins, it's going to be the greatest political comeback in history. He has this unique ability to survive anything, including 2 assassination attempts in the past few months on his life. And politically, he is the only one that can build this coalition.
As this wild election comes to a close, one thing both Democrats and Republicans can agree on is that this election has changed American politics for years or even decades to come. Jackie Fox, RTE News, Washington.
Well, it sure has. Well, I'm joined now by Mary Jordan, who's a journalist with the Washington Post and also an author of a number of books on Donald Trump. Thanks so much for joining us this evening, Mary. It's been a campaign, as we just heard Jackie Fox say there, with so many twists and turns. How does it compare to other presidential campaigns you've covered?
Unlike anything in my lifetime, and I hope to God, unlike anything we ever see again. Because between the assassination attempt, the fact that the person who could become our president, Kamala Harris, she's certainly in this tight race. She didn't even know she was running until a few months ago. But worse, the embarrassing part about it is how ugly some of the rhetoric has been. This hasn't been an uplifting, kind of glorious, inspiring kind of campaign. It's kind of one that we want to close the book on.
Because negative campaigning isn't anything new, but did this election take it to another level?
Yes, it is a different level. Last night, for instance, Donald Trump talked about one of his adversaries, Nancy Pelosi, calling her every ugly name you could think of. And evil was and crazy were just the nice words. We're not used to that. He's kind of normalized ugly profanity. And I think that now is the time, everything goes in cycles. So as an optimist, I'm hoping that after this election, the country needs some unity, and we need, kind of some civility again. And
the big question is, does it really matter? Maybe Donald Trump's voters don't mind. Maybe that's how people speak and they see that as, a normal guy, and I want to vote for the normal guy. But last night, both candidates were in the swing states. How important is that final push, those final remarks that both sides make?
I think people are settled in their mind. Maybe there's one or two voters, but Donald Trump has clearly spoken to a part of America that's angry about many things, and they don't care what he says. He's just not the status quo. And so I think we should look under the system here and try to address why are men so angry. Men are really the people, if he wins, that would be putting him in office. I think America has a lot of introspection to do.
Okay, so what will you be watching for this evening then as polls close?
I think if we see a strong showing in Pennsylvania by Kamala Harris, as well as if she wins Michigan and Wisconsin, which could come in tonight, and we see that she's ahead, that will tell us that we could have the first woman president ever. If not, we're going to have Donald Trump again, and boy, that's unusual too. He's been convicted of many felonies and he was in the White House before, but he has a huge following.